This audiobook is your initiation into the forgotten art of commanding reality, not with struggle, not with force, but with the silent authority of your inner voice, the voice that shapes worlds, the voice that moves mountains. When you remember how to speak with certainty, life itself bends to meet your command. The universe does not respond to noise or desperation. It answers only to the calm, unwavering resonance of inner knowing. Here, in these words, you will awaken the force that has always been yours, the power to command reality with absolute certainty. Introduction: The Lost Language of Certainty. In the vast theater of existence, where stars are born from silent whispers and oceans obey the pull of invisible tides, there exists a force more powerful than motion, more enduring than time, the force of certainty. It is not loud, nor does it need to shout. It moves in quiet conviction, shaping the very fabric of reality with a word, a thought, a knowing. This is the force you are about to reclaim. For too long, humanity has wandered through life like beggars at the gates of abundance, hoping, wishing, pleading for the universe to grant their desires. But the universe, in its infinite wisdom, responds not to the fragile pleas of uncertainty, but to the bold declarations of those who know, those who remember. The sages and mystics of old did not ask for reality to shift, they commanded it. They spoke the language of certainty, the ancient tongue that bends time and shapes form, a language long forgotten by the distracted mind, but forever remembered by the soul. What if you remembered that language now? What if, within you, lay the same power that moved mountains, parted seas, healed bodies, and summoned abundance from the unseen? This audiobook is not here to teach you something new. It is here to awaken what has always been, the inner voice, the voice that moves mountains. There is a reason why the great teachers, from the deserts of Egypt to the temples of the East, spoke in parables and symbols. They understood that truth is not learned, it is remembered. And the truth is this: your reality is not something you encounter, it is something you create, something you command. With every thought, every word, every feeling, you are issuing commands to the universe. Most do so unconsciously, shaping a life by default. But the awakened soul, the one who remembers, commands deliberately, with certainty, and the universe, like a faithful servant, obeys. In these coming chapters, you will not merely learn principles. You will experience the reawakening of your birthright. We will walk through ancient laws that govern the seen and unseen, laws that respond not to effort but to alignment, not to striving but to the magnetic pulse of certainty. You will meet stories of those who remembered, like the blacksmith who forged his world anew through inner vision, or the seamstress who stitched joy into the very fabric of her life. These are not mere tales. They are reminders, mirrors showing you what you already know deep within. Certainty is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the power that makes thought flesh and time bend. When you speak from this place, mountains move, waters part, and doors that seemed locked swing open with ease. This is not mysticism, this is law. But understand this: certainty does not arise from force. It is not the clenched fist demanding the world to change. It is the open hand, the calm heart, the steady gaze that knows it already has. Certainty is the silent power behind the most extraordinary transformations in history, and now it calls to you. As you journey through these words, allow yourself to slow down, breathe deeply. Let the rhythm of this narration become your heartbeat. Feel each word as if it were an echo of your own inner voice. For this is not merely a book, it is a remembering, a return. In the stillness between the words, you will hear it. The quiet, commanding voice within you that never left. The voice that shapes your world. The voice that moves mountains. And when you reclaim this voice, when you speak with the certainty that creation demands, the universe will respond, as it always has, with a resounding yes. Are you ready to remember? Chapter 1. The Silent Architect Within. There is a force within you that builds worlds. A silent architect, shaping reality with every thought you hold, every word you speak, every belief you nurture. This architect does not require tools or materials. It works in the unseen, constructing the foundations of your life long before you see them rise in the physical world. And yet, most walk through life unaware of this constant creation, mistaking chance for design, coincidence for consequence. But the truth remains, whether you know it or not, whether you choose it or not, you are always building, every moment, every breath. It is not enough to know this with the mind. You must feel it in your bones, in the marrow of your being. You are the architect of your reality, and your certainty is the blueprint. The universe responds not to what you hope for, not even to what you wish for, but to what you believe with absolute conviction. The unshakable knowing that what you desire is already yours. This is the law that operates beneath all other laws, the principle that underpins every manifestation, every creation, every miracle, the law beyond laws. Let me tell you a story, one that echoes through the chambers of time, a tale that speaks directly to the architect within you. In a remote village, nestled between rolling hills and silent rivers, there lived a stonemason named Elias. Day after day, Elias shaped stones with his bare hands, crafting walls, arches, and pathways that stood the test of time. But what made Elias remarkable was not his skill with stone. It was his unwavering vision. Long before his hands touched the rock, Elias saw the finished cathedral in his mind. Every curve, every spire, every window that would catch the morning light. To the villagers it seemed impossible. How could such a structure rise from the bare earth? How could mere stones become something so grand? But Elias knew. He held the vision with such certainty, such clarity, that the universe itself seemed to conspire in his favor. The right stones appeared at the right time. The laborers who shared his dream arrived without request. Even the weather bent to his will, granting him seasons of fair skies as he worked. What the villagers called luck, Elias understood as law. The law of certainty. The law that bends reality to match the inner blueprint. You see, Elias did not build the cathedral with his hands alone. He built it first with his mind, with the silent architect within, and so do you. Every relationship you experience, every opportunity that crosses your path, every challenge you face, they are the walls, the arches, the spires of your cathedral, and they all began as blueprints in the silence of your certainty. The universe is a perfect mirror. It reflects not what you wish for, but what you believe to be true. The clearer your vision, the stronger your certainty, the more precise the reflection becomes. This is the secret the sages knew. The mystics, the prophets, the masters, they all understood that to change the world outside, one must first change the picture within. But how often do we allow doubt to redraw our blueprints? How often do we let fear erode the foundations of our dreams? We waver, we question, we look to the outer world for proof, forgetting that the outer world is the result, not the cause. The cathedral does not rise and then inspire the vision. The vision inspires the cathedral. There is a power in holding steady to your vision, in refusing to be swayed by appearances. It is not stubbornness. It is the sacred discipline of the architect. The one who knows that even when the ground is bare, even when the materials are not yet in hand, the design is already complete in the unseen. Let me share another story. Across the sea, in a bustling city of merchants and traders, there lived a woman named Mariana. She owned a small shop tucked away in an alley, selling handmade tapestries. For years, her shop remained quiet, her art unrecognized. Yet every night, Mariana would sit by candlelight and see her tapestries hanging in great halls, admired by nobles and kings. She saw herself speaking to patrons, her shop filled with the sound of voices and the exchange of coins. To anyone else, this was a fantasy, but to Mariana, it was fact. She spoke as though it were already true. She acted as though her shop were the heart of the city. And then, one autumn evening, a nobleman, lost in the winding streets, stumbled upon her shop. He purchased a single tapestry, then returned with others, and word spread like wildfire. Within months, Mariana's shop became the very vision she had held for years, the tapestry of her life rewoven by the silent architect within. This is not magic. It is law, the law beyond laws. Thought becomes flesh. Time bends to the certainty of the soul. You may not be a stonemason or a tapestry maker, but you are always creating, always building. The question is, what are you constructing? What vision are you holding? Is it one of doubt, or is it one of certainty? The answer determines the shape of your life. This chapter is your invitation to become conscious of the architect within, to recognize that every thought you hold is a chisel, every belief a stone, every feeling the mortar that binds your creation. You do not need to force reality into shape. You need only to hold the blueprint steady, to trust the process, to speak with the voice that commands the mountains. Close your eyes now. Picture the life you desire not as a distant possibility, but as a cathedral already built. Walk its halls. Feel the sun through its windows. Hear the echo of your footsteps on its stone floors. Know that it exists, even if your physical eyes do not yet see it. The blueprint is drawn, the architect is awake, and the universe, as it always does, is ready to build. Chapter 2. Where time bows to certainty. Time is often seen as the master of all things. It governs the seasons, ages the body, and marks the rhythm of the cosmos. Yet, what if I told you that time itself is not the ruler, but the servant? That time bends, not to the ticking of a clock, but to the certainty of your inner conviction. This is not mere poetry. It is the silent truth that the sages have whispered through the corridors of history. Time does not move in a straight line. It moves in response to your alignment. When your certainty is complete, time yields. There is a rhythm in the universe, but it is not bound by seconds or minutes. It is bound by resonance, by the frequency of your thoughts and the unwavering steadiness of your belief. Time bends to those who understand this. Those who live not by the calendar, but by the deep knowing that their vision is already manifest in the unseen. Consider the story of Julian, a humble gardener in a forgotten village. For decades, he worked the same patch of land, coaxing life from the soil, season after season. Yet, what set Julian apart was not his skill with plants, but his relationship with time. Each spring, while others anxiously watched the skies and measured the days, Julian sat in stillness, knowing that the harvest had already come. He felt the fullness of it in his bones before the first seed had even touched the earth. One year, a drought struck the land. Crops withered, farmers despaired, but Julian's garden flourished. Visitors came from miles around, asking how he had defied the season's curse. He smiled and said, "I do not plant for the season I see. I plant for the harvest I know." Julian understood the deeper rhythm, the rhythm where time bends to certainty. He did not measure his planting by the dryness of the soil or the lateness of the rain. He measured it by the certainty within him that life would emerge because he had declared it so. You, too, live within this same rhythm, though the world may have taught you otherwise. It has taught you to wait, to measure, to doubt. when time seems slow. But time is not slow. It is precise. It bends to the degree of your alignment, to the depth of your belief. There is another story, one of Miriam, a young woman who dreamed of traveling the world. Year after year, she saved what little she could, watching as the price of her dreams seemed always beyond reach. Until one day, she released the grip of time. She stopped measuring her journey by her bank account and began measuring it by the certainty of her inner knowing. She saw herself walking the streets of distant cities, tasted the foods, heard the languages, felt the sun of foreign lands upon her skin. Within weeks, an opportunity arose that no amount of planning could have predicted. A friend of a friend needed a companion on their travels. Miriam's expenses, once the obstacle, were covered by the flow of life responding to her certainty. Time bent to her vision. What should have taken years unfolded in months. This is the power of certainty. It collapses time. It brings the unseen into the seen, not by force, but by the natural law that governs all things. You are not at the mercy of time. You are the master of it. When you understand the law beyond laws. Think of time as a river. Most let it carry them, drifting with its current, surrendering to its flow. But those who awaken to their creative power become the river's guide. They do not fight the current. They shape it, they speak to it. And the river, obedient to the one who knows its true nature, bends. You have felt this in moments when time seemed to vanish, when hours felt like minutes, or minutes stretched into eternity. These moments are glimpses of the truth that time is elastic, that it responds not to the clock but to the state of your consciousness. When you are lost in doubt, time drags. When you are aligned, time dances. When you are certain, time bows. This is not merely a mindset, it is law. The universe is structured to respond to the frequency you emit. When your certainty is complete, time rearranges itself to match the resonance of your belief. And yet, many live as slaves to time. They say, "It is too late. I am too old. It will take too long." But these are the words of those who have forgotten the architect within, the one who commands time, who shapes reality, not by waiting, but by knowing. Let me offer you a reflection. Close your eyes and think of a desire you have placed far into the future. Perhaps you've told yourself it will take years. Now, feel that desire as though it is already here. Feel it fully, every sensation, every emotion. Let time dissolve. Let the idea of waiting fall away. What happens? The vision becomes vivid, real. It steps into the present. This is the key. To live in the end, not as a distant goal, but as a present reality. To walk through life as though what you seek is already yours, for in truth, it is. In the realm beyond time, it already exists. Your certainty pulls it into the now. This chapter is your invitation to release the tyranny of time, to stop waiting, to stop measuring your dreams by the clock. Time is not your master, it is your servant. When you know this, deeply, fully, without wavering, time bends. The harvest comes not in the season the world predicts, but in the season your certainty commands. Like Julian, you plant not for what you see, but for what you know. Like Miriam, you walk the streets of distant lands before your feet ever touch the soil. Close your eyes again. Feel time bending around you. Feel the future collapsing into the present. Know that it is already done. The universe waits only for you to believe it. Chapter 3. The space between cause and effect. There is a space so subtle, so easily overlooked, that most never notice it. It lies between the cause you set in motion and the effect that follows. This space, the invisible gap between desire and fulfillment, between vision and manifestation, is where the true mastery of life resides. The world calls this gap waiting, but the wise know it as the sacred interval, a space not to be filled with doubt or anxiety, but with unwavering trust. The law beyond laws governs this space. It teaches that the moment you declare a thing, the universe sets into motion every necessary force to bring it into being. The cause is complete the moment you think it, feel it, know it. The effect must follow, not by chance, but by the immutable design of creation. Yet in that space between cause and effect, the untrained mind falters. It questions, it fears, it doubts, and in doing so, it slows the unfolding of what is already promised. Think of this space as the soil where the seed of your intention is planted. Once planted, the seed does not sprout immediately. But beneath the surface, forces unseen are at work, orchestrating the miracle of growth. To dig up the seed to check its progress is to disturb the very process that ensures its becoming. Consider the tale of Audien, a candle maker from a quiet village. Each evening, he crafted candles by hand, infusing them with oils and herbs, whispering blessings into the wax. He believed deeply that these candles would bring light not just to homes, but to hearts. Yet, for months, no one came. His shop remained silent, his shelves full. The space between cause and effect stretched before him, tempting him to doubt. But Audien held firm. Each day he lit a single candle in the window of his shop, a beacon to the universe of his unwavering trust. Then, one stormy evening, a traveler sought shelter, drawn by the soft glow of that solitary flame. Word of Audien's candles spread, and soon his shop overflowed with those seeking more than light. They sought the warmth his certainty had kindled. The space between cause and effect is not empty. It is filled with the movement of unseen forces, aligning circumstances, drawing connections, bending time and matter to match the frequency of your vision. Your task is not to fill this space with worry or effort, but to hold it with the quiet power of knowing. To remain as steady as the seed beneath the soil, trusting the inevitable rise of its sprout. There is another story, one of Elara, a healer in a bustling city. She envisioned a sanctuary, a space where souls could come to rest, to heal, to remember their wholeness. For years, she worked in crowded clinics, feeling the pull of her vision, yet seeing no path to its fulfillment. The space between her cause and its effect stretched long and thin. Many would have abandoned the dream, but Elara did not. Each night, she walked the city streets, imagining her sanctuary standing tall, its doors open, its rooms filled with light and laughter. She spoke to it as though it already existed. And one day, as if by chance but truly by design, a benefactor crossed her path, offering the very building she had seen in her mind's eye. Her sanctuary became real, not because she forced it, but because she mastered the space between. This is the invitation before you now, to honor the space between cause and effect, to know that once the cause is set, the effect must follow, but to understand that the space between is sacred. It is where you deepen your faith, where you hold the vibration steady, where you allow the unseen to become seen. Too often, this space is filled with frantic effort, with chasing and forcing, as though the effect must be hunted down. But manifestation is not a chase, it is an alignment. The universe is not a distant stranger, it is a mirror, reflecting back the images you hold most firmly. When you rest in the certainty of your cause, the effect becomes inevitable. Feel into this truth. Close your eyes. Think of something you desire. Notice the space between its conception and its fulfillment. Feel how your mind wants to fill that space with planning, with questioning. Now, release that impulse. Replace it with trust. Breathe into the knowing that the effect is on its way, as surely as the sun rises after night. This is the law beyond laws. The recognition that the cause contains the seed of the effect. That once set in motion, creation unfolds in perfect timing. Your role is to tend the soil with faith, not to dig up the seed with doubt. In this space between, cultivate gratitude. Let your heart swell with the joy of knowing it is done. Act as though the effect is already here, for in truth, it is. The unseen simply takes time to become seen, but it is no less real in the invisible than in the visible. Consider the rain cloud. It gathers unseen, moisture rising, forming droplets in the sky. The earth beneath waits, knowing the rain will come. The soil does not doubt. The river does not question. They wait in trust, and in time the rain falls. So too with your desires. The space between cause and effect is where the clouds gather, where the universe aligns. Your role is to remain steady, to hold the knowing that the rain will come, that the harvest will bloom, that what you have called forth is already on its way. Let this chapter be your anchor, a reminder that the space between is not void, but vital. It is where you grow into the person who can receive the effect you have set in motion. It is where your faith takes root and blossoms. Rest in this space, trust it. Know that it is filled with unseen movement, with the silent orchestration of the universe bringing your vision into form. The cause is complete. The effect is certain. The space between is where your mastery lies. Chapter 4. The Echo of Certainty. There is a sound the universe cannot resist. It is not loud nor forceful. It does not clamor for attention or demand its way. This sound is the quiet, unwavering echo of certainty that rings from the depths of your being. The world may call it confidence, but it is something deeper in inner knowing, an unshakable belief that what you have spoken into existence must come to pass. This echo reverberates through the unseen realms, commanding reality to bend, to shape itself in accordance with your belief. Certainty is the language of the law beyond laws. When you declare a thing with absolute assurance, you activate the hidden mechanisms of the universe. But more importantly, you tune yourself to the frequency of that which you desire. The echo of certainty does not come from arrogance or wishful thinking. It rises from alignment, from the meeting point of thought, feeling, and action, all harmonized with your vision. Picture Jonah, a merchant in a crowded bazaar. For years, he stood behind his small stall, selling spices and wares, blending into the noise and chaos of the market. He had dreams of expansion, of trading with distant lands, but his voice never rose above a whisper in the sea of competing calls. One day, something shifted. Jonah stopped seeing himself as a mere merchant. In his mind, he became a trader of the finest goods, dealing with nobles and caravans from across the deserts. He began to speak differently. His posture changed. His words carried the weight of someone who knew his worth. The universe, hearing this echo of certainty, responded. Traders from distant lands noticed him, drawn not just by his goods, but by the resonance of his belief. His business expanded, crossing borders he had once only imagined. Jonah's story is not rare, it is the natural unfolding of a universal principle. The echo of certainty carries farther than any effort could reach. Certainty is not something you find, it is something you choose. It is a decision made in the quiet of your heart, repeated with every breath, until it becomes the song of your being. This song calls forth the reality you desire. Like a tuning fork that vibrates until all surrounding instruments match its pitch, your certainty tunes the universe to your frequency. Think of Sophia, a seamstress in a remote mountain village. She dreamed of designing garments for royalty, though she had never left her town. Her hands stitched visions into fabric, each thread woven with the certainty that her designs would one day grace the courts of kings and queens. She spoke of it often, not as a dream but as a fact yet to unfold. Neighbors dismissed her as fanciful, but Sophia's certainty never wavered. One spring, a noble traveler passed through the village, his eye caught by a gown displayed in her humble shop window. He purchased it, wearing it to a royal gathering where the queen herself inquired after its maker. Soon, Sophia was summoned to the palace, her designs adorning the very royalty she had long spoken of. What seemed miraculous was simply the echo of her certainty reaching distant ears. Certainty speaks louder than circumstance. It does not ask permission. It declares. The universe responds to this declaration because it recognizes the vibration of truth within it. When you move from wanting to knowing, from hoping to declaring, the world bends to meet you. But how do you cultivate this certainty when the evidence around you suggests otherwise? The answer lies in the law beyond laws. It is not the outer world that dictates your belief. It is your belief that dictates the outer world. The evidence follows the echo, not the other way around. Practice the art of certainty. Speak aloud the vision you hold, not as something you desire, but as something that already is. Let your words carry the tone of inevitability, as if you were describing the Sunrisian event that simply must occur. Feel the resonance of these words in your body. Notice the shift within you as your voice aligns with your belief. Certainty is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Each day, affirm your vision with clarity and confidence. When doubt arises, recognize it not as truth, but as the echo of old conditioning. Replace it with the steady rhythm of certainty. Consider the ocean. Its waves crash against the shore, steady and unyielding, shaping the land over time. Your certainty must be like this consistent, unwavering, reshaping reality with every repetition. The shore does not dictate the waves. The waves shape the shore. There was a builder named Elias who understood this principle. He constructed bridges where others said it could not be done. Each time, before the first stone was laid, Elias would walk the expanse where the bridge would stand, speaking aloud to the wind, to the earth, to the water, declaring the bridge already built. His workers thought him strange, but Elias knew the power of certainty. And each time, the bridge rose as he had seen it, connecting lands once thought impassable. Elias did not build from plans alone. He built from certainty. He knew that the physical structure was only the final expression of what had already been completed in the unseen. Let this chapter be your invitation to cultivate that same certainty, to speak your vision into existence with the echo that the universe must hear. Do not ask if it will happen. Declare that it has happened. Let your words, your actions, your feelings align in this sacred harmony. In the stillness of the night, when the world is quiet, speak to the universe. Let your certainty ring out like a bell in the darkness. The universe hears, always. And in time, it will respond in kind, bending reality to match the echo of your knowing. Chapter 5. The Ritual of Becoming. Every act of creation begins with a ritual. Whether you realize it or not, you are always participating in a ceremony of becoming. Your thoughts, your feelings, your words, your actions all are offerings placed upon the altar of the universe. These offerings shape the pattern of your life, weaving the invisible threads that eventually manifest as the circumstances you encounter. The ritual is not confined to sacred spaces or special moments. It is woven into the very fabric of your existence, breathing through the ordinary, the mundane, the unnoticed moments of your day. The question is not whether you are engaged in ritual, but whether you are aware of the rituals you are performing. Every repeated thought, every consistent emotional response, every habitual action becomes a ritual that summons the unseen into the seen. If you are unaware, your rituals may be calling forth realities you do not desire, manifestations born from fear, doubt, or limitation. But when you awaken to this truth, you gain the power to consciously shape the ritual of your becoming. Imagine Miriam, a baker in the heart of a bustling city. Each morning, before the sun lifted its head over the horizon, she entered her quiet kitchen, lit a single candle, and whispered a blessing over the flour and water that would soon become bread. To outsiders, it seemed unnecessary, even strange. But Miriam understood that her ritual infused her work with energy, with life. Her bread did more than nourish the body, it fed the soul. Customers traveled from distant towns, drawn not only by the scent of fresh loaves, but by the feeling of warmth, of care, of love baked into every bite. Miriam's ritual was not grand, but it was powerful. It shaped her reality, drawing abundance and connection into her life. You too hold the power to create such rituals, to infuse every act with intention, to make sacred the ordinary. This is the path of the Master Creator, the one who knows that becoming is not a future event, but a present practice. Each day is a canvas, and every thought, word, and deed is a brushstroke in the masterpiece of your life. Consider the ritual of speech. Every word you utter is a spell, casting vibrations into the ether that shape your world. When you say, "I am struggling," you are weaving that reality into being. When you declare, "I am flourishing," you summon forth the energy of growth and expansion. Your words are not idle, they are the sacred instruments of manifestation. Speak as though your words carry the power of creation, because they do. Reflect on the ritual of thought. Every image you hold in your mind, every scenario you replay, every vision you nurture is a seed planted in the fertile soil of the universe. The thoughts you dwell upon become the blueprint for the life you experience. If your mind drifts toward fear or worry, you are performing a ritual of contraction. But when you anchor your thoughts in faith, in possibility, in the vision of what you choose to create, you perform a ritual of expansion. Then there is the ritual of feeling. Emotion is the fire that animates your creations. It is the breath of life that transforms thought into form. Feel as though your vision is already real. Let the emotions of joy, gratitude, peace, and love flow through you, filling every corner of your being. This is not pretending. It is participating in the sacred ritual of becoming, aligning your inner world with the reality you wish to experience. Let me tell you the story of Daniel, a painter whose work once went unnoticed. His canvases gathered dust in a forgotten studio, his dreams of recognition fading with each passing year. One evening, weary of disappointment, Daniel decided to change his ritual. Before lifting his brush, he began to close his eyes, breathing deeply, envisioning his paintings hanging in grand galleries, admired and celebrated. He infused every stroke with the emotion of that vision feeling, the joy, the pride, the fulfillment of his work being seen and appreciated. Day after day, this became his ritual. And slowly, the outer world responded. A local gallery discovered his work, leading to exhibitions that brought his art to distant cities. His ritual of becoming transformed his life. Daniel's story is not exceptional. It is the natural outcome of the law beyond laws at work. The universe responds to the energy you consistently offer. When your rituals are aligned with your vision, reality has no choice but to conform. The ritual becomes the vessel through which the invisible is made visible. There is another layer to this practice, the ritual of action. Action is the physical embodiment of your inner world. It is the bridge between thought and form. But not all action is created equal. Action born from fear, from desperation, carries that energy into the outcome. But action infused with certainty, with trust, with alignment, carries the power of the universe behind it. Every step you take, Every choice you make can be part of the sacred ritual of becoming. Think of Celeste, a teacher in a small coastal village. She dreamed of writing a book that would inspire generations, but the enormity of the task overwhelmed her. So she began with a simple ritual. Each morning, she lit incense, sat before her blank page, and wrote a single paragraph. She did this not as a task, but as an offering, a daily ritual of becoming the writer she envisioned. Paragraph by paragraph, her book took shape. When it was complete, it found its way into the hands of readers around the world, touching hearts, changing lives. Celeste's ritual transformed her from dreamer to creator. You are called now to create your own rituals of becoming, to infuse your daily life with intention, with presence, with the energy of your vision. Begin small. Choose one act, one thought, one word to offer each day in alignment with who you are becoming. Let this practice anchor you in the flow of creation. The universe does not respond to random effort. It responds to consistent, aligned energy. The ritual is your way of communicating to the universe, of declaring your readiness to receive, to embody, to become. Perform your rituals not as duties, but as sacred acts of creation. Let them be the vessels through which your vision is born. In the quiet of your morning, before the rush of the day, pause. Close your eyes. See your vision as already real. Speak it aloud, feel it in your bones. Take one action, however small, that aligns with this vision. Repeat this each day, knowing that with every offering, you are shaping the unseen, calling forth the reality that awaits you. The ritual of becoming is not something you do once. It is a way of being, a continuous unfolding of your highest self. Through this sacred practice, you align with the law beyond laws, commanding reality with the quiet power of your certainty. Chapter 6. The Echo of Certainty. In the heart of the mountains, where the winds whispered secrets only the ancient cedars could remember, there lived a woman named Miriam. She was known far and wide as the weaver of echoes. But her craft was not one of thread or loom, it was of words spoken with such certainty that even the mountains would shift in response. You see, Miriam had learned the most sacred of arts, to speak not as one who hopes, but as one who knows. She understood that reality does not respond to the unsure whisper, nor to the wavering thought. It answers the voice that carries the resonance of certain tithe, inner echo that vibrates through the chambers of the soul, unwavering and unrelenting. To speak with certainty is to command the universe to rearrange itself in your image. And in this chapter, you will come to know that echo within yourself. Miriam did not come to this knowledge easily. There was a time when her words faltered, when doubt stained her tongue and dreams drifted away like mist at dawn. She would stand upon the edge of the mountain, declaring her desires to the sky, yet her voice trembled. The winds carried back her own uncertainty, and the world reflected it in kind. But one morning, as the first light painted the peaks in gold, she stood in absolute stillness. She closed her eyes, breathed deeply, and listened not to the world outside, but to the echo within. That day, her voice did not waver. She spoke her truth as if it had already unfolded. "The rains will come," she said, though the sky was barren. And come they did, in a downpour that nourished the land for weeks. It was not magic, it was the echo of certainty. The universe, like those ancient mountains, responds not to the request but to the command. The echo of your inner certainty reverberates outward, shaping the formless into form. This is the power that moves mountains, that bends the laws of time, that breathes life into visions held steady by the force of belief. You too possess this power. But to wield it, you must learn to listen first, not to the clamor of the world or the noise of the mind, but to the deeper knowing that hums beneath your thoughts. The echo of certainty is not loud, it is steady. It is the quiet voice that does not ask if, but states when. It does not question how, but affirms now. Consider a seed. It does not wonder if it will become a tree. The pattern is within it, encoded into its very being. The seed's certainty is not negotiable. It will grow because it knows no other way. You are like that seed. Your visions, your desires, are the patterns encoded within you. And when you align your voice with that knowing, the universe has no choice but to respond. There once lived a merchant named Elias who, like many, struggled with the uncertainty of survival. His shop sat empty more days than not, and each morning he would mutter to himself, "I hope someone comes." Yet the hope in his words fell flat against the reality he created. Day after day, the streets remained silent. But one night, under the silver gaze of the moon, he remembered the teachings of his grandmother, the importance of speaking with certainty, not as one pleading with life, but as one commanding it. The next morning, he stood before his shop, lifted his chin and declared, "This place thrives. Customers arrive in abundance. Prosperity flows here like the river to the sea." His voice rang not with desperation but with assurance, and the universe, faithful as ever, echoed that certainty back. One by one, people came. His shelves filled with movement. His business became a beacon. What changed was not the world but the echo within him. His voice had aligned with his knowing. His words carried the tone of a truth already realized. This, dear listener, is your sacred task, to align your inner voice with the certainty of your vision. Speak as one who commands, not as one who begs. Declare your desires not as distant dreams, but as realities already forming beneath the surface, ready to rise at your call. Each morning, before the world stirs, find a quiet space. Close your eyes. Feel the vision you hold. And then speak it aloud, not as a wish, but as a decree. Let the words roll from your tongue with the weight of inevitability. I am abundant. I am healed. I am loved. I am aligned. Say it until the echo within you matches the sound without. Say it until the world bends to meet your tone. And remember, the echo of certainty is not forged in the mind alone. It is born from the union of thought, feeling, and voice. Let your words be filled with emotion. Let your body believe the truth you speak. The universe does not respond to empty phrase, it responds to the vibration of your being. Feel the echo rising within you now. Speak your truth as Miriam did upon the mountain, as Elias did before his shop. Speak it as if the world has already shifted, as if the rain has already fallen, as if the abundance has already arrived, for in truth it has. The echo you send outward returns to you multiplied, shaping your reality as surely as the tide shapes the shore. This is the voice that moves mountains. This is the certainty that commands reality. Chapter 7. The Mountain Moves for the Unwavering. In a quiet village nestled beneath towering peaks, there lived a shepherd named Raphael, a man known not for the size of his flock, but for the strength of his conviction. Year after year he guided his sheep through the valley, past the same towering mountain that loomed in his path. And year after year the mountain stood, unyielding, a silent witness to his daily trek. But Raphael carried within him a seed of knowing that the mountain was not as immovable as it seemed. One winter, heavy snows blocked the pass. The villagers warned him, "Turn back, Raphael, the mountain will not move for you." But Raphael simply smiled, his eyes filled with the light of inner certainty. "It is not the mountain that must move," he replied, "but my belief about it." He stood before the great stone face and whispered, not with desperation but with absolute knowing, "You are already moved." And though the mountain did not crumble before his eyes, a hidden path revealed itself, an ancient trail carved into the stone that no one had seen for generations. His flock passed through safely, and the villagers watched in awe. The mountain moved, not in the way they expected, but in the way reality bends to meet unwavering certainty. This story, like so many ancient parables, holds a truth you must now grasp. The mountains in your life, those towering obstacles, those seemingly immovable forces are not what they appear. They are reflections of your inner state, shaped and reshaped by the voice you carry within. They respond not to the volume of your words, but to the depth of your belief. When your inner voice speaks with certainty, the very fabric of reality rearranges itself to align with your tone. You do not need to shout to move a mountain. You need only to know that it has already moved. Think of a compass. Its needle points north, not because it tries or hopes or wishes, but because it aligns with an unseen magnetic field. Your certainty is like that field. It is the force that guides the needle of reality to point toward your desires. When your inner voice aligns with that certainty, the external world has no choice but to respond. There once was a young woman named Delilah who dreamed of becoming a healer. She lived in a town where illness ran rampant, and though she studied herbs and remedies, doubt plagued her every step. She questioned whether she was capable, whether her hands could truly heal. And so, though she knew the right herbs, though she followed every tradition, her healing work fell flat. One day, an old sage visited the town and saw Delilah's struggle. He said, "Child, it is not the herbs that heal, nor the hands. It is the certainty behind the touch." He instructed her to gather her remedies again, but this time to speak aloud with conviction. "I am the vessel through which healing flows. The body before me is already whole." At first, Delilah's words felt hollow, but as she spoke them day after day, they began to take root. Her inner voice shifted from questioning to knowing. And soon, those she treated felt the changement not just in their bodies, but in the very atmosphere around her. Healing came swiftly, not because the herbs had changed, but because Delilah had. This is the echo of certainty in action. Reality responds to your conviction, to your unwavering stance that what you speak is already so. The universe, like Delilah's patience, listens not just to your words but to the vibration beneath them. Now, pause for a moment and consider. What mountains stand before you? What obstacles have you deemed immovable, simply because the world has told you they are so? Close your eyes and see them. Feel their weight. Now hear the voice within you, the one that does not beg or plead, but commands with quiet authority. Speak to those mountains. Tell them they have already moved. Do not concern yourself with the how. The path may reveal itself as a hidden trail, as it did for Raphael. The mountain may not crumble before your eyes, but it will move. The shift may be subtle. At first a door opens, a conversation changes, an opportunity arises where none existed, but it will move, because certainty commands it. There was a time when the great builders of ancient civilizations stood before empty deserts and saw cities. They spoke not of possibility, but of inevitability. They laid stone upon stone with the certainty that what they envisioned was already real. Their monuments still stand today, not because they hoped, but because they knew. This too is your inheritance. The voice that commands reality is within you, waiting for your permission to speak, not as a voice of fear or longing, but as the voice of creation itself. Each day, practice this sacred command. Stand before the metaphorical mountains in your life. The debts, the illnesses, the unfulfilled dream sand, speak to them with certainty. You are already dissolved. You have already yielded. You are already transformed. Let these words not be mere affirmations, but declarations of truth. Speak until the echo within matches the sound without. Speak until your being vibrates with the certainty that moves mountains. And know this, the universe is listening. Chapter 8. The Certainty Beyond Sight. In a quiet hamlet where the mist clung to the hills like whispered promises, there lived an old watchmaker named Elias. His hands, weathered and worn from years of meticulous craft, moved with a precision that belied his age. But it was not his skill that made him renowned. It was his unwavering certainty that the invisible gears of life ticked in perfect rhythm, long before he ever laid eyes upon them. You see, Elias worked not by sight, but by faith. When a customer brought him a broken timepiece, he didn't study the damage with anxious eyes, trying to fix what was wrong. Instead, he closed his eyes, felt the weight of the clock in his palms, and listened. He listened for the beat beneath the silence, the rhythm that told him the clock was already whole, its gears aligned in harmony beneath the surface. His apprentices questioned this method. "Master, how can you repair what you do not see?" they asked. And Elias would simply smile, replying, "I do not need to see it, I know it, and knowing shapes the world more surely than sight." One winter's day, a traveler brought to Elias a grand clock ornate and towering but long silent. Others had deemed it beyond repair. "It will never tick again," they told the traveler. But Elias took the clock without hesitation, running his fingers along the worn brass, closing his eyes as if listening to an ancient song. For 3 days and nights he worked in silence, not with frantic urgency, but with quiet certainty, as though he were merely restoring what had never been lost. On the morning of the 4th day, the clock's great bell rang through the village for the first time in decades, its deep chime echoing like a heartbeat restored. Elias did not fix the clock. He aligned with the knowing that it was already whole. This is the lesson the world longs for you to remember. Sight can deceive, but certainty shapes reality. The eyes may see lack, delay, or impossibility, but the inner voice, the voice of knowing, speaks only of completion. There is a law beneath all laws, an operation of reality that transcends time and space. It is this: the world mirrors the certainty you hold, not the evidence you gather. Just as Elias restored time not by sight, but by trust in the rhythm that existed beneath the surface, so too must you approach the landscapes of your life. There is a story told in the hidden monasteries of the East about a young monk named Kai. He was tasked with carrying water up the steep mountainside each morning, a laborious trek that left his shoulders aching and his spirit weary. One day, as dawn broke over the peaks, the elder monk watched Kai struggle beneath the weight of his task. "Kai," the elder asked, "why do you carry that burden as if it is the only way?" The young monk, panting, replied, "Because this is how I have always done it. The path is steep, the load is heavy." The elder smiled gently. "Then walk as if the path is level, as if the burden is light. Align with the ease that already exists beneath your effort." The next morning Kai climbed with a new thought, a knowing that the mountain would yield. And though the steepness remained, though the water jug still weighed upon him, something shifted. His body moved with greater ease, the path seemed smoother, and his spirit soared. The journey was transformed, not because the mountain changed, but because he did. This is the alchemy of certainty. When you align your inner knowing with the reality you wish to experience, the world must mirror that truth. The laws of physics, the passage of time, the circumstances of your life, they bend not to your struggle but to your certainty. What you believe beyond what you see becomes the foundation upon which new realities rise. Pause for a moment. Reflect on the landscapes of your life. Where do you carry burdens that feel immovable? Where do you walk paths that seem endlessly steep? Close your eyes. Feel the rhythm beneath the surface, the clock that is already ticking, the mountain that has already yielded. Speak from this place of knowing. This is not denial of the world's appearance. This is mastery over it. There once lived a woman named Sophia, a teacher in a forgotten village. Her school was small, its walls crumbling, the children hungry for more than just knowledge. Yet every morning, Sophia stood before those children and spoke as though they were destined for greatness, as though the walls around them gleamed with gold. She taught not to the lack she saw, but to the abundance she knew existed beneath the surface. And though her hands held no riches, though her voice echoed in empty halls, the certainty of her vision filled the room. Slowly, the village began to change. Resources appeared where there had been none. Opportunity bloomed in barren soil, not because Sophia worked harder, but because she spoke from the certainty of what was already so. Certainty is the brush that paints the unseen onto the canvas of the scene. When you speak, act, and move from this knowing, reality cannot resist your call. The greatest architects of history did not wait for evidence before laying the first stone. They saw the cathedrals, the monuments, the cities in their mindsand, so the world conformed. They did not seek validation from the world. They gave the world its form through their certainty. You too are an architect. The blueprints of your life are etched within your knowing. Speak now not to the obstacles you see, but to the reality that is already unfolding beneath them. Let your voice rise like the chime of Elias's clock, echoing through the world with the sound of certainty. The mountains may seem high, the burdens may seem heavy, but the path bends, the load lightens, when you walk with unwavering knowing. This is the law beyond laws. This is the certainty that moves not only mountains but the very heart of reality. Chapter 9. The Voice That Commands the Winds. In the coastal village of Eldermore, where the cliffs stood tall against the ceaseless waves, there lived a sailor named Thomas. His boat, weathered by salt and time, was a humble vessel, no grand ship with sails of silk or hulls of iron. Yet Thomas was known far and wide as the man who sailed when others stayed ashore, the one who ventured into the storm when the winds howled and the skies roared. You might wonder what gave Thomas such courage, what secret allowed him to navigate the tempest while others waited for calm seas. It was not the strength of his boat, nor the certainty of the weather. It was the command of his voice, the certainty of his words. Before each voyage, Thomas stood upon the rocky shore and spoke to the winds. His voice, deep and unwavering, carried across the waters, a declaration rather than a plea. You will carry me safely. You will bend to my course. I am the master of this journey. These words, simple yet profound, shaped the very nature of the sea before him. His fellow sailors scoffed at first. They mocked the idea that words could shape the winds, that a voice could command the seas. But year after year, Thomas returned, his boat whole, his spirit unshaken. And so, the legend of the sailor who spoke to the storm grew, not because of magic or chance, but because of the power of certainty spoken aloud. This is a truth the ancient mystics knew well. Your voice carries the frequency of creation. It is the bridge between thought and form, the vibration that calls the unseen into the seen. The winds of life, the circumstances, the opportunities, the challenges respond not to your silent wishes, but to the resonance of your spoken word. The universe listens. It hears the tone of your certainty or the tremble of your doubt, and like the winds that responded to Thomas, it adjusts its course accordingly. There is a story told in the desert lands, beneath the endless sands where time seems to stand still, of a woman named Layla. She was a shepherdess, tending her flocks in the harshest of climates where water was scarce and the earth cracked beneath the relentless sun. Yet, each evening, Layla would stand upon the highest dune and speak aloud to the earth beneath her feet. You are fertile, you are abundant, you hold the life I seek. And though the world around her remained barren, her voice carried into the winds, sowing seeds in the invisible soil of possibility. Seasons passed, and where others saw only desolation, green shoots began to rise. A spring burst forth where none had been, and the village whispered of miracles. But Layla knew this was not a miracle. This was the law made manifest through the certainty of her voice. You must understand, it is not enough to hold your vision in silence. Thought is the seed, but voice is the rain. It is the power that nourishes your intentions, giving them life beyond the chambers of your mind. When you speak with certainty, you are not asking, you are declaring. You are announcing to the universe that what you know within must now be reflected without. This is not arrogance, it is alignment with the very nature of creation. The great architects of civilization, the builders of empires, the visionaries of the ages, they spoke their dreams into existence long before stone met mortar or ink touched parchment. Their words carved the path, and reality followed. Consider Elijah, a potter from the hill country, whose hands shaped the most delicate vessels. But before his fingers touched the clay, he would speak to it. You will hold beauty, you will bear purpose. His apprentices laughed at the ritual, dismissing it as foolish superstition. Yet no vessel ever cracked beneath Elijah's hands, no design ever failed to emerge. His pots, humble yet enduring, were sought after from distant lands. Why? Because the clay, like the universe, responded to the certainty of his voice. In your life, there are countless moments where you stand before the winds and the clay, where circumstances seem wild and unformed, where the storms gather and the earth appears barren. And in these moments, you face a choice: to remain silent in hope, or to speak with the authority of knowing. Speak now to the winds of your life. Speak to the empty fields, the unfinished dreams, the obstacles that loom before you. Do not ask, declare. Command as Thomas did upon the shore, as Layla did to the desert, as Elijah did to the clay. Speak aloud. I am aligned with abundance. I am the vessel of purpose. I am the calm in the storm. Your voice is not merely sound, it is vibration, and vibration shapes matter. The universe cannot resist the call of certainty. It echoes back what you send forth, magnified and manifest. This is the sacred practice the sages understood. This is the power that moves mountains and calms seas, not through force, but through resonance. Reflection for your path. Find a quiet space. Stand tall, feet grounded, heart open. Speak one truth you choose to embody, aloud, with conviction. Let the words echo not just in the room, but in the chambers of your soul. Repeat them daily until they become the song of your being. The winds await your command. The clay longs to be shaped. The universe listens for the voice that speaks from certainty. Chapter 10. The Word That Shapes Worlds. There is a force within you that predates language, older than the oldest stars, more ancient than the earth beneath your feet. It is the word unspoken, the command unuttered, and yet it is the very architect of worlds. Your voice, when infused with certainty, carries the weight of creation itself. Not as a request, not as a plea, but as a decree. This is the essence of the inner voice that moves mountains. It does not negotiate with reality. It declares, and reality responds. Consider for a moment the nature of words. Words are not just sounds carried on the wind. They are vibrational codes, keys that unlock the structure of reality itself. The sages of old knew this. That is why incantations, affirmations, and declarations have always held power in spiritual traditions across the world. But there is a difference between a murmured wish and a spoken command. The universe does not bow to whispers of uncertainty. It bends for the one who speaks with unwavering authority, knowing their word is law. In a forgotten corner of an ancient desert, there lived a man named Omar. His village was plagued by drought. Year after year the people prayed, begged the heavens for rain. Yet the skies remained clear, indifferent. Omar, however, took a different path. One morning he climbed the tallest dune and stood beneath the relentless sun. He spoke not to the sky, but to the rain itself, as though it stood before him. "You will come," he said. "You will fall, and the earth will drink." His voice did not quiver. He spoke as one who knew the rain was already on its way. He returned to the village and began preparing the fields as if the rain had already come. The others mocked him, called him mad. But Omar's voice had already seeded the sky. Days later, when dark clouds gathered for the first time in years and the rain poured down upon the parched earth, the villagers wept. Omar did not. He had spoken it into being long before the clouds answered. This is the principle you must embody. Your voice is the seed of reality. When you speak with certainty, when you command as if what you say cannot be otherwise, you activate the universal law that shapes all things. Your words are not mere vibrations, they are directives issued to the fabric of existence, and existence listens. But understand this: the power of the word is diminished by doubt. If you speak a command but harbor uncertainty within, your voice loses its sharpness. It becomes a question rather than a decree. The universe does not respond to questions. It responds to commands issued in the language of certainty. This is why the sages teach the power of the spoken word combined with unwavering belief. The combination is the key that unlocks mountains, that parts seas, that bends time itself. You are not a passive observer in this universe. You are a creator, a commander of reality. Your voice, when aligned with certainty, is the instrument through which creation flows. Let me offer you another story of Amelia, a woman born into poverty in the heart of a bustling city, her life defined by limitation. Every day, she passed by the grand estates of the wealthy, whispering wishes under her breath, but nothing changed. One day, tired of the endless waiting, she stood before the gates of a mansion, placed her hand on the iron bars and declared aloud, "I am a woman of wealth. These gates open to me." Her voice echoed with a force that startled even herself. Amelia spoke this truth every day, not as a wish, but as a command. She spoke as if the wealth was already hers, as if the universe had no choice but to comply. And in time, the universe did. Opportunities unfolded, doors opened, and the gates that once barred her now welcomed her in. The difference between those who wish and those who command lies in the certainty of their voice. You are not here to beg the universe for scraps. You are here to speak with the authority of a creator, knowing that the world outside must reflect the declarations you make within. Practice this. Stand before a mirror each day and speak aloud the truths you wish to see reflected in your life, not as hopes, but as certainties. Let your voice carry the weight of someone who knows. Speak as though the universe is already moving in response, because it is. Say, "I am abundance. I am health. I am power." Do not merely say these words, command them. Let your voice fill the room. Let it vibrate through your body. Feel the force of your own certainty shaping reality in that very moment. You are the word that shapes worlds. Speak with that knowing, command with that authority, and watch as reality bends to your voice. Chapter 11. The Frequency of Command. Beneath every word you speak, beneath every thought you think, there hums a frequency, a resonance that either commands reality to obey or lets it drift by untouched. The true power of your inner voice is not merely in the words you choose, but in the vibration that those words carry. Certainty has a frequency. It's the sound of mountains moving, rivers parting, time itself bending to the will of the one who speaks with knowing. To understand this, imagine two musicians standing before a finely tuned instrument. One hesitates, unsure of which note to play, uncertain if their hand will find the right chord. The other moves with precision, striking the string with absolute confidence, and the instrument sings. The same string, the same instrument, but the frequency of intention behind the action makes all the difference. So too does your inner voice command reality. The frequency of your belief, the vibration of your certainty, is what causes the universe to respond. Words without resonance are like unstruck chord silent, powerless. But when your words are saturated with conviction, when your thoughts hum with the knowing that what you speak is already so, the world rearranges itself to mirror your frequency. Let me tell you of Elijah, a man who lived near the coast where the sea raged and calmed with no apparent reason. Fishermen would gather in the taverns, cursing the tides, blaming fate for the barren seasons. But Elijah knew something they did not. Each morning, long before the first light broke the horizon, he would walk the shoreline and speak to the sea. Not as a desperate man pleading with nature, but as a sovereign being addressing an ally. He spoke in the frequency of command. You will calm. You will feed those who venture upon you. His voice did not rise with emotion nor fall into doubt. It was steady, unwavering, and clear. And in time, the sea responded. Where others feared storms, Elijah found bounty. His nets were full when others came back empty. They called it luck. He called it alignment. For Elijah knew what many forget. Everything in the universe responds to vibration. Matter itself, from the grains of sand beneath his feet to the vast sea before him, dances to the rhythm of energy. And the human voice, when charged with certainty, carries the frequency of creation. You too are an instrument of frequency. The words you speak, the thoughts you hold, are not neutral. They vibrate into the field of possibility, shaping the unseen into form. But here lies the key. Only those frequencies that match the certainty of creation will manifest. This is why idle wishes, half-hearted affirmations, and tentative hopes so often falter. They lack the frequency that compels the universe to respond. But when you speak with a resonance of certainty, when your inner voice hums with the power of knowing, you activate a force that reality cannot ignore. Consider Naomi, a young woman burdened by years of scarcity, raised in a household where lack was the unspoken language. Every time she spoke of her desires, her voice was soft, uncertain, as if apologizing for wanting more. The universe, tuned to the frequency of her doubt, mirrored back her uncertainty. But something changed. One day, Naomi stood before her reflection and found her voice. She spoke the same words, "I am abundance." But this time, her voice vibrated differently. She spoke from the core of her being, not as a plea but as a command. She felt the resonance in her bones, and the universe, as always, responded. Opportunities arose, unexpected doors opened, and Naomi stepped into the life she had always desired, not because the words had changed, but because the frequency behind them had. Your words are the keys, but your vibration is the hand that turns them, and only with the frequency of command do the locks of reality yield. This is why the ancient sages taught that before you speak, you must first feel. The resonance must arise from within. If your words are empty of vibration, they are empty of power. But when they hum with certainty, they carry the force of creation. Here is your practice. Before you speak your desire aloud, before you issue your command to the universe, pause, feel the vibration of certainty rise within you. Breathe into your body. Let your cells align with the truth you are about to declare. Speak only when you feel the resonance match the reality you command. Say not, "I wish I could be free." Instead say, "I am freedom." not with the tremble of hope, but with the clarity of command. Feel your voice vibrate, not just in sound, but in certainty. You are the frequency that shapes worlds. Speak, think, and feel with that resonance, and the universe will dance to your rhythm. Chapter 12. The Echo of Unseen Agreements. There is a sacred contract that predates the rising of the sun, older than the breath of the wind or the song of the rivers. It is not written in ink nor carved in stone, but woven into the very fabric of the universe. This contract exists between your inner voice and the reality it shapes. Every thought, every word, every feeling is a thread in this vast tapestry of agreements. And though unseen, these agreements echo into the visible world, manifesting as the circumstances you call life. You do not walk through this world as a passive observer, watching reality unfold before you. No, you are a co-author of existence, a participant in a sacred exchange. And the universe, impartial and precise, fulfills its end of the agreement with exactness. Whatever you consent to within yourself, through thought, belief, or expectation, becomes the terms the universe abides by. This is the echo of unseen agreements. To understand this, imagine Lydia, a potter living in the shadows of towering mountains. Every morning, she shaped clay on her wheel, forming vessels that held not just water, but her unspoken agreements with life. For years, Lydia believed her work would never be seen beyond her village. She accepted this quietly, unknowingly, signing an unseen contract that kept her creations hidden. But one morning, a stranger wandered into her workshop. He admired the elegance of her pottery and spoke words Lydia had never dared believe. These belong in galleries, not just kitchens. That night, as the fire flickered in her hearth, Lydia rewrote her agreement. She spoke aloud, "I consent to being seen. I allow my work to travel beyond these walls." And like a stone thrown into still water, this new agreement rippled outward. Within months, travelers sought her pieces. Orders arrived from distant lands. The universe, honoring the new terms, rearranged itself accordingly. Lydia had always been a creator, but now she became a participant in a larger dance, the echo of her inner agreements mirrored in the outer world. You too are crafting agreements, whether consciously or not. Every time you say, "I'm not good enough," or "It's always hard for me," you sign another clause, imprinting the terms upon the universal field. And reality, ever faithful to its role, echoes back what you consent to. But here's the powerful truth. Agreements can be rewritten. The moment you shift your consent, the moment you declare a new belief, the terms of your life begin to change. It may not always happen instantly, but the echo has been altered, and the universe will respond. Consider Damien, a man who lived under the weight of inherited beliefs. His family, generation after generation, had struggled financially, repeating the phrase, "Money doesn't come easy for us." This belief became an agreement so deeply embedded that Damien never questioned it. Until one evening, after reading an ancient text on prosperity, he felt something stir. He stood before his reflection, looked into his own eyes, and revoked the old contract. He declared, "I no longer consent to struggle. I align myself with ease, with abundance, with flow." That night, he wrote down this new agreement as though signing a treaty with the unseen forces that shape existence. Slowly, things began to shift. Opportunities he had never noticed appeared. Doors that had always seemed closed swung open. His outer world caught up with the new terms he had chosen within. The universe is bound by the laws of agreement, not the laws written by governments or rulers, but the cosmic law that states, "What you accept within, you will receive without." And when you accept something with the full weight of your belief, it becomes unbreakable, until you choose otherwise. This is why affirmations work, not because they are magic words, but because they rewrite the terms of your unseen agreements. When you say, "I am worthy," again and again with feeling, you begin to cancel the old contract of unworthiness. You draft a new one, and as the echo of this agreement ripples through the universe, the external world must realign. But there is more. Your agreements influence not just your experience, but the collective field around you. When you stand in certainty, when your inner voice commands reality with the strength of a mountain, you give others permission to rewrite their agreements as well. Your frequency becomes a beacon that signals it is possible to live differently. Imagine Aisha, a teacher who worked in a struggling neighborhood. For years, the children she taught believed they were limited by their circumstances. But Aisha held a different agreement within herself. She spoke to them as though they were already brilliant, capable, destined for greatness. She treated them not as victims of their environment, but as creators of their destiny. And slowly, the echo of her inner agreement reshaped theirs. Students who once saw no future began to dream, to believe, to act differently. Their lives changed not because their external conditions shifted immediately, but because their inner agreements had been rewritten. The field of possibility expanded, and they stepped into it. Here is your invitation. Examine the contracts you've signed unknowingly. What have you agreed to about your worth, about your potential, about what is possible for you? And more importantly, are you ready to rewrite those agreements? Sit quietly, place your hand over your heart, and speak the new terms aloud. I consent to abundance. I agree to joy. I align myself with ease. Say these words not as wishes, but as decrees, knowing the universe listens. And as the echo of your new agreements ripples through the unseen, trust that the world will rearrange itself accordingly. The mountains move, the rivers shift. Time bends not by chance, but by the agreements you hold within. Chapter 13. The Altar of Expectation. In the sacred halls of ancient temples, offerings were placed upon stone altars, gifts meant to honor the divine and open a conduit between the human and the infinite. But in truth, there is no altar more powerful, no place more sacred than the altar of expectation within your own heart. This altar, invisible but ever present, is where the true offerings are made not of incense or gold, but of belief, of certainty, of the unshakable knowing that the universe responds to what you expect, not what you wish. Expectation is the purest form of belief. It is not hope, which wavers and waits. It is not wishing, which longs and doubts. Expectation is a quiet confidence, an inner posture that says, "It is done." When you approach life with expectation, you are placing a sacred offering upon that internal altar, a signal to the universe that you are ready to receive, that you know your desire is already in motion. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. The great mystics and sages knew this truth well. They did not approach the divine as beggars, pleading for scraps of favor. They approached as partners in creation, standing before the universe with open hearts and clear expectations, knowing that what they desired was already theirs in the unseen. Consider Elijah, a humble carpenter who lived near the sea. His work was good, but his heart often carried the weight of doubt. Though he hoped for better days, he expected struggle, and the universe answered accordingly. His tools dulled, his customers few, his hopes flickering like candlelight in the wind. But one evening, as he walked along the shore, he encountered a stranger fisherman who spoke of faith, of trust in the unseen currents that carry the nets full. "When I cast my net," the fisherman said, "I do not hope for fish, I expect them. I know the sea is abundant." These words struck Elijah like a chisel to stone. He returned to his workshop, not with new tools, but with a new expectation, He lit a candle upon his workbench, whispered, "I expect abundance," and began again. In the weeks that followed, customers appeared seemingly out of nowhere. His work found new hands, new homes. The sea did not change, nor the wood beneath his fingers. What changed was the offering he placed upon his inner altar. His expectation became a beacon, drawing to him the very reality he aligned with. You too place offerings upon this altar of expectation every day, though you may not always recognize it. When you expect delays, the universe delivers them. When you expect rejection, it obliges. But when you expect ease, expect joy, expect the fulfillment of your desires, the universe must respond in kind. This is the law not of force, but of alignment. There is an ancient story of Sophia, a healer who traveled from village to village. She carried no herbs, no tools, only her expectation of healing. Wherever she went, the sick would recover, not because of potions or rituals, but because Sophia held such unwavering certainty that healing would occur that others began to expect it too. Her expectation became contagious, and through this shared belief, miracles unfolded. Expectation is contagious. When you hold it firmly, others will feel it. It will seep into your words, your actions, the very air around you. You will notice people responding differently, opportunities unfolding where once there were only closed doors. This is not magic. This is the natural consequence of aligned expectation. But there is more. The altar of expectation must be tended with care. Just as a neglected altar gathers dust, expectation unattended can wither into doubt. This is why daily practice matters not out of obligation, but out of devotion. When you wake each morning, tend your altar, speak aloud your expectations. Whisper them into your coffee, write them in your journal, breathe them into your day. I expect abundance. I expect love. I expect opportunities to flow to me with ease. Do not hope. Expect. There is power in the posture of certainty. The universe does not respond to your desires alone. It responds to your certainty that those desires are already in motion, that they are as real as the ground beneath your feet. Consider Julian, a young musician whose songs were heard by few. For years, he hoped to be discovered, to share his gift with the world. But hope wavered, and the world reflected his uncertainty. Until one day, Julian stood before his mirror, guitar in hand, and said aloud, "I expect my music to be heard. I expect it to move hearts." He played not as someone hoping for a chance, but as one who knew the stage was his. And soon invitations came, small at first, then larger, until his music filled the halls he once only dreamed of. Your voice holds the power of expectation. Speak with it, declare with it, make offerings upon your altar, not of doubt, but of certainty. And when doubt creeps in, as it will return to your altar, light the candle again, speak the words again, expect again. The universe listens not to the noise of fleeting thoughts, but to the steady drumbeat of your expectation. The mountains move for those who expect them to. The seas part, the stars align. The very fabric of reality bends to meet the unwavering voice that commands with certainty. And so, I ask you now, what will you expect today? Chapter 14. The Bridge Between Now and the Unseen. There is a space, a sacred span that exists between what is and what is becoming. This space, though invisible, is as real as the ground beneath your feet. It is the bridge between the present moment and the manifestation of your desires. Most cannot see this bridge. They feel the distance between now and what they long for and believe the gap to be empty, untraversable. But you, dear listener, are learning to walk a different path. You are learning that the bridge between now and the unseen is not crossed with force or impatience, but with the steady steps of faith and knowing. Faith is not the absence of uncertainty. It is the decision to keep walking even when the next plank of the bridge is not yet visible beneath your feet. Faith is the inner voice that whispers, "Keep going," when all appearances suggest otherwise. It is the quiet force that builds the bridge as you walk, plank by invisible plank, creating a path where none seem to exist. There is a story, an old one, about Naomi, a woman who stood at the edge of the great canyon that separated her from the life she envisioned. On her side of the canyon was everything, familiar her routines, her doubts, her limitations. On the other side were her dreams, the work that set her soul on fire, the relationships that uplifted her spirit, the abundance that allowed her to thrive. Naomi spent many seasons gazing across the canyon, wondering how to cross. She waited for a sign, for a bridge to appear, for the gap to close itself. But nothing came. Until one day, weary of waiting, she took a single step forward right off the edge of the known. And something miraculous happened. A plank appeared beneath her foot, then another, and another. She realized the bridge did not exist until she began to walk it. The bridge was built not by waiting, but by moving in faith. This is the unseen law of creation. The universe responds to movement, not stagnation. It meets you where you are and extends the bridge only as you step forward, not before. How often have you stood, like Naomi, at the edge of your own desires, waiting for a sign, for perfect conditions, for certainty that the next step will be secure? How often have you delayed action because you could not see the full path ahead? But here is the truth. The path is never fully visible from the start. It is revealed plank by plank, step by courageous step. The bridge between now and your vision is built through action, through the alignment of thought, feeling, and movement. Think of Daniel, a teacher who longed to share his knowledge beyond the four walls of his classroom. He dreamed of writing a book, of reaching readers across the world. But the gap between his current life and that vision seemed vast. He waited, year after year, for the right time, for the perfect inspiration, for a sign that his words were worthy. One day, frustrated with his own waiting, Daniel sat down and wrote a single page. Just one. It felt small, almost insignificant. But that page became 2, then 10. Soon, the bridge began to form beneath him. A publisher reached out. A speaking invitation arrived. His message traveled farther than he had dared to imagine. None of this would have occurred had he remained at the edge, waiting for the bridge to appear fully formed. You too must take the first step across the unseen bridge. Do not wait for perfect clarity. Do not wait until the whole path is illuminated. Take one step, however small, however uncertain. Trust that the universe will meet you there, that the planks will appear beneath your feet as you move. This is the sacred balance of manifestation, to hold the vision firmly in your mind while taking aligned action in the present. It is not enough to dream. Dreams alone float like clouds, untethered. Action grounds the dream into reality. And yet, action without vision is equally fruitless. Like rowing a boat with no destination, you move but never arrive. The power lies in the union of the two, the vision that pulls you forward and the action that builds the bridge. There is an ancient saying, "Pray as though everything depends on the divine, but act as though everything depends on you." This is the dance of co-creation. The universe waits for you to move so it can respond. But remember, not all action is equal. The bridge is not built from frantic effort or scattered motion. It is built from aligned action steps taken in harmony with your vision, infused with faith and certainty. Each step should feel like a statement. I trust that what I seek is seeking me. Consider Eleanor, an artist who dreamed of exhibiting her work but believed no one would value her creations. She hesitated to share her paintings, waiting for external validation. But one day, she chose to act as if her work was already cherished. She rented a small space and displayed her paintings. The response was overwhelming. Not because the world changed, but because Eleanor crossed the bridge. She acted from her inner knowing, and the universe responded. Your desires are not waiting to be fulfilled. They are waiting for you to step forward, to claim them, to walk the bridge between now and the unseen. Every morning, when you wake, ask yourself, what is one step I can take today that aligns with my vision? It does not need to be grand. The bridge is built plank by plank. And when doubt arises, it inevitably will remember Naomi, Daniel, and Eleanor. Remember that the bridge forms beneath your feet, not before. Trust in the process. Trust in the unseen. The universe moves in response to your movement. Your inner voice is the compass. Let it guide you across the bridge. The moment you step forward, the unseen becomes seen, the gap closes, and your desires meet you halfway. Chapter 15. The final word that shapes reality. There comes a moment in every journey when the seeker becomes the knower, when the one who listens to the voice within realizes that they themselves are that voice. This moment is not marked by thunder or the parting of clouds, but by a quiet, undeniable certainty that settles deep in the soul. This is the moment when the inner voice becomes the only voice that matters, when the world outside grows silent, and the power within takes its rightful place upon the throne of your being. You have walked a long path to reach this place. You have learned the principles that govern reality, that shape your every experience. You have listened to the stories of those who, like you, stood at the edge of doubt and stepped forward in faith. You have felt the resonance of truth as it echoed through the chambers of your heart. And now, standing here, you know, you are the one who moves mountains. But knowing is not enough. You must declare it. You must speak the final word that shapes your reality, not in a whisper, but in a tone that reverberates through the very fabric of existence. This is the final act of creation, to stand in the fullness of your power and proclaim, "It is done." The universe responds not to hesitation but to certainty. It moves not for those who ask timidly, but for those who command boldly from the throne of their inner knowing. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is the recognition that you and the universe are one and the same, reflections of each other in an eternal dance of creation. There is a tale of Aldrich, a humble carpenter who spent his life building homes for others but never dared to build his own. He spoke often of what he would one day create, a home of stone and wood, filled with warmth and light, but year after year he deferred his dream, until the day he stood before an empty plot of land, placed his hands upon the earth, and spoke the words, "This shall be my home." From that moment, the world shifted. Resources appeared. Helpers gathered. The vision took form. It was not the tools, the wood, or the stone that made Aldrich's home real. It was the final word he spoke with certainty that set the universe in motion. His declaration became the cornerstone upon which his dream was built. So too must you speak your word, not as a plea, but as a command, not as a wish, but as an unshakable truth. The inner voice that moves mountains does not ask for permission. It does not wait for signs. It declares what is, knowing that the universe must align. Consider Marielle, a healer who once doubted her gifts. She spent years waiting for validation, for a sign that she was ready to step into her purpose. But healing did not flow through doubt. It flowed through certainty. One morning, standing before her reflection, she spoke aloud, "I am a healer. My words mend hearts. My presence restores wholeness." From that day, her life transformed. Not because she gained new skills, but because she aligned with the final word that shaped her reality. The words you speak to yourself are the seeds of your creation. They are not empty phrases. They are commands issued to the universe, blueprints drawn in the ether, awaiting their manifestation. Every I am is a declaration of power, a shaping of the unseen into form. Speak with care, speak with conviction. Now is the time to let go of all lesser voices, the doubts, the fears, the opinions of others. None of these hold power over you unless you grant it. Your reality bends to the word you hold firm. The mountain does not move because you ask it nicely. It moves because you speak with the authority of one who knows it must. Let this be your practice. Stand before the mirror each day, look into your own eyes, and speak the word that defines your reality. Say it aloud, not as hope, but as truth. I am abundant. I am love. I am powerful beyond measure. Let the vibration of your voice carry the resonance of certainty into every cell of your being. And when doubt arises, it will return to the final word. Speak it again, louder if necessary, until the voice within is the only voice that remains, until the mountain knows it has no choice but to obey. Remember the story of Soren, the farmer who faced barren fields for years. While others saw only drought and desolation, Soren spoke to the land daily. You are fertile, you are abundant, you yield harvest. His neighbors laughed. They called him mad. But Soren knew the power of the final word. And when the rains came, his fields burst forth with crops so plentiful they nourished the entire village. Soren's faith did not waver because he understood. The word spoken with certainty is the seed from which all abundance grows. The world may scoff. Circumstances may appear unchanged. But the inner voice commands reality, and reality must yield. So, I ask you now, what is your final word? What truth will you speak that shapes your world? Do not wait another moment. Declare it now. Speak it with the force of mountains, with the certainty of the sun rising. I am. Complete this sentence. Make it your cornerstone. The inner voice that moves mountains is not distant. It is within you. It always has been. Every time you've felt the pull toward more, every time you've sensed that you are greater than your current circumstances, that was the voice speaking. Now, you must answer it. Answer it with your final word. Answer it with certainty. The universe is listening. The mountain stands ready. It is done. Conclusion. The mountain has moved. You have arrived at the threshold where knowing turns into being, where seeking gives way to embodying, and where the mountain no longer stands before you, it moves with you. This is not the end of your journey, but the beginning of your true becoming, where the inner voice you have nurtured, listened to, and empowered becomes the sole architect of your reality. You are no longer the seeker standing at the base of the mountain, gazing upward in awe. You are the mover of mountains, the one who commands with certainty, whose voice ripples through the fabric of existence and bends the world to your will. Throughout these chapters, you have learned the sacred art of commanding reality, not through force, but through alignment, not through desperation, but through certainty. You've discovered that your thoughts are not passive spectators of life, but active participants in its creation. You've felt the power of stories: the blacksmith who rekindled his forge, the healer who claimed her gift, the farmer who spoke to barren field sand. You've seen that these were never mere tales. They are reflections of what is possible when the inner voice becomes the loudest, most unwavering sound in the universe. You have learned that reality responds not to your hopes, but to your certainty, that the universe is a mirror, always reflecting back what you declare with conviction. This truth, once hidden in sacred texts and whispered by mystics, now rests in your hands, alive within your soul. The law beyond laws, where thought becomes flesh and time bends, is no longer an abstract philosophy. It is your living reality. The mountain has moved, but this is not a lesson to remember merely with the mind. It is a truth to embody with every breath. To wake each morning, stand before your reflection, and declare who you are. To speak your final word with power, with presence, with certainty. To walk through your life not as one hoping for change, but as one commanding it, knowing that your inner voice creates the outer world. And when doubt knocks, as it inevitably will, you know the path back. You know to return to the inner altar, the sacred space where your voice becomes law, where you remember that the mountain moves because you speak it so. You are not separate from the creative force that shapes stars, that moves tides, that births galaxies. You are that force individualized, a vessel through which the universe expresses its infinite potential. This was the secret of the sages, the power of the mystics, the wisdom of the ancient ones who dared to believe that the voice within was the voice of God. Now you stand among them. Do not let this wisdom gather dust like an unopened book upon the shelf of your soul. Use it, speak it, live it. Be the voice that moves mountains. Every thought you hold, every word you speak, every feeling you embody is a command sent out into the universe, a blueprint that shapes your reality. And the universe always answers. So, I ask you, what mountain stands before you now? And more importantly, what word will you speak to move it? Speak it now. Say it with certainty. Let your voice echo across the valleys of your doubt. Let it ring through the corridors of time. Let it shape the very fabric of existence. It is done. It is done. It is done. This is your moment. The mountain has moved. If this audiobook has ignited something within you, I invite you to continue this journey of awakening. Download the free ebook version through the link in the pinned comment below and explore more sacred teachings that deepen your power to create. Subscribe to the channel to receive the next audiobook, and together, let's continue shaping reality with the force of certainty. The inner voice that moves mountains lives within you. Let it speak, let it create, let it become the world you walk through. Thank you for walking this sacred path.